This video is brought to you by HalloCasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description. Today I'm talking to Filippo Zeni. He's co-founder of Zelo Real Estate and a long-standing expert in Italy's luxury real estate scene. Filippo, thank you so much for your time. You're the first person from the northern Trento region, Italy. Very pumped to have you on the show. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Thank you for the introduction, Michael. It's a pleasure, and also to be a pioneer of some sort. My story basically starts in hospitality, which ran in my family's business for quite some time and brought me abroad, where I spent a few years. And my first touch with real estate was when I was in London, almost between 25 and 20 years ago. Unfortunately, it's quite a long time. And then from there on, I came back and hospitality wasn't my business anymore. I left, I went to Dubai, and I understood in Dubai that I could do this job. So basically I was a born salesman, first of all. And then when I came back, I decided to concentrate, to basically not take a shortcut, because it's not a shortcut, but really to concentrate on the high-end market. And so I started searching for partners, and luckily I found one in the center of Italy, who allowed me to understand all the process, all the behind the scenes, and especially the acquisitions. And then having done that for a few years, I partnered up with a colleague of mine who was also a solo man, and we decided to create Zelo, which is a company which has now run more than 100 transactions in north of Italy, especially concentrating in Trentino-Alto Tyrole, with myself concentrating on the residential, high-end residential and creative, and the creative brain behind the company. And my associate concentrating in commercial real estate, in being involved in several deals, which span from warehouses and land to agricultural business. And then we decided that it was time to enlarge our team, and so have some people starting to work with us who are very good at taking care of the day-to-day business. So the really normal residential first homes or second homes, but in and around the area of Trento. Whereas with my associate, we also take care of opportunities that may arise in different regions nearby. So I hope this covers a little bit who I am.
Absolutely. Very interesting. We have two things in common. Hospitality, this is also where my career started, and then I also went to Dubai. So it's very interesting to be on the other side. Tell us a little bit about the region of Trento for someone who has never been in this entire area. It's a very particular area, and especially like for people maybe not so familiar with it, also maybe not German or Italian. Give us an overview about where you're located and what makes it so unique.
The uniqueness of our region comes from the blend between two cultures, really, which is the Austrian culture and the Italian culture. Not many people know that Italy has, especially my region, has a large part of German-speaking population, which is an heritage from the time where the Habsburg were dominating this land. But also Trentino, in reason of this, because of this, has a special status. It's a little bit, I always explain to international people, it's like a little bit like Catalonia. For Spain, it's exactly how it works for us. So we are very independent in terms of regulation and in terms of how we use the public funds. And eventually this led over the years in having Trento and Bolzano as territories being always constantly between the top 3 or the top 5 places to live in Italy. And right now, let's say the momentum has really been gone from the, I would say, just after the 2010s. It really started to gain momentum, especially also with foreigners and people from other parts of Italy emigrating to this area because of job opportunity, because of family welfare, because of the natural setting. You can be in the city, and at the same time, if you don't have to go to the gym in the evening, you are on smart work. We have people from München or from Helsinki or from the US, and they stay here from some time, they work smart work, and then they grab their bike and they go up a beautiful pass in the Dolomites. The thing is, this really led to a phenomenal growth in terms of market values, which is also, unfortunately, from a certain perspective, creating a little bit of a social strain, because you've got ever less people being able to climb the real estate ladder. I guess this happens a little bit all over the place. So we strive also to find initiatives and to find investors to develop initiatives that can allow even young couples with families, not only foreigners, not only out of region, for second homes. I'll go into that in a second, but really the people that make up the social texture to be able to achieve what really any newborn family would like to, and that is to own their own piece of real estate.
Now, talking a little bit about the real estate market of the region, what you touched upon it right now a little bit. What are price ranges? What is moving right now in the market? Because as you depicted very well, you have Trento on the one hand, then you have Bolzano, Merano, so the entire basically valley down to Lake Garda, where probably you have a lot of like the most luxurious or the most expensive prices. Give us an overview there, maybe regarding the price ranges, and also if you can do it along a geographical structuring.
Yeah, absolutely. I can give you quite a precise insight of that, because we attended a ceremony which awarded us as one of the top agents in Italy and among the top 10 agencies in Trentino-Alto Tyrol. And we were given a very good insight. Starting from the north, you have really the German-speaking area, which is South Tyrol, which is somewhat a brand on its own. So South Tyrol, it's really something that walks its own path. It doesn't really belong to a normal sort of insight when you look at numbers. Bolzano has the same numbers of Center Milan, which is the most affluent part of Italy. And Bolzano certainly is one of the most, I would say, certainly the most affluent province in Italy. But I would say it also has some grounds to be retained as one of the most expensive areas to purchase real estate. And this we should always divide into two different sectors. The first sector is the primary residence. So what I was saying just before, people that need to purchase a property are really part of gentrification right now, which normally applies to larger cities. I don't know, if you take Germany, for instance, you can have gentrification where? In Munich, in Berlin. If you take Italy, you can have it in Milan, you can have it in Rome, in some other areas. It's very unlikely that you have it in smaller centers. Let's say Bolzano, just to put it into perspective, it's just over 120,000 people, like Trento, more or less. And so those prices, they span on average, we are talking about average prices for the province between 4,000 and 5,000 per square meters. But in Bolzano, you can go as high as 12,000 per square meters for new developments in prime areas. Whereas when you move out and you go in fantastic God-blessed areas like Val Gardena or Alta Badia, then the sky is really the limit, because we got deals that went for between 15 and 20,000 on an average, which for prime mountain residents is nothing compared to Switzerland or compared to the best part of France, or to the States for that instance. But for the Dolomite, it's really the top end. And that has been boosted also by the upcoming Olympic in Cortina, which is also spanning all around the territory. A lot of investment going in, brand new facilities. They were already excellent, but they are pouring tens of millions of euros to even better the infrastructure that was already there. So this is one insight starting from the north. You mentioned Merano. You mentioned, along with Bolzano, Merano is also a city that has been very much, I call it in a nice way, doped by German capital, because obviously it's a very lovely town. It has a lot of reminiscence of the past. It was where the emperors of Austria would spend their holidays at the thermal. And overall, it's a beautiful, fantastic experience for the outsider, that's for sure. And it also has very heavy prices. Then if we move further south, then we move into Trentino. Trentino is slightly less. So we have the average price of the province span between 3,000 and 4,000 euros. But if you move into Trento, then you can get as high as 5.5 to 6,000 euros. It depends where you purchase, but the prime property can go for as much as those prices. I would say 5.5 is the real top benchmark for Trento, which in any case makes it difficult for a first-time buyer to purchase. Whereas, and this is why Trento, maybe I should mention also that Trento has in the last 10, 15 years has become really a hub of innovation, because there is a very high graded university. We are talking the minor league of university. We are not talking the top tier university, but in the second tier university, Trento has a lot of, it's very dynamic, so to speak, and there are 2 or 3 foundations which are funded by public money and private money, which are luring a lot of researchers from other parts of the world. So Trento has become somehow international. And then what I was telling is that it's very well centered, because in 3.5 hours by car, you're in the center of Munich. And then in 1 hour by car or less, 45 minutes, you are on Lake Garda. In half an hour, you are on the ski lifts. So it gives you a lot, even though it is a small city and it doesn't certainly offer the beauty that you can find in Venice or in Florence for that instance, but it's a peculiar city on its own. And we had the competence and ability and also the trust from a lot of international clients, whether they come from the US, whether they come from Germany, from Poland, from Israel, from the US, whatever. We've had a lot of interactions and a lot of transactions going on, which is not something that you would see happening back in the days. Now, because of the gentrification, now we're also pushing out. And so in smaller villages, where it was possible perhaps 5 years ago, prior to COVID, to purchase with 2,000 euros per square meter, now you need to invest 3.5, closer to 4,000, which is again putting a lot of strain on the market itself. And the last part of our beautiful, fantastic region, which stretches from 3,500 meters above sea level in the beautiful, fantastic UNESCO protected Dolomites, all the way down to Lake Garda, which is for many people from Bayern, for instance, has always been the surrogate of the sea. So many people would go there on holiday, and there is a reminiscence of Lake Garda being a beautiful natural spot where people could go out and have an easy vacation. Nowadays, let's say in the past 10 years, for sure, Lake Garda has become really a top-end destination also for real estate. On the Lake Garda is composed by Trentino, and then it has 2 different areas, one of them stretching on Lombardy and one of them stretching on Veneto. The one on Veneto being overdeveloped right now. To better say it has been overdeveloped by companies. Okay, this is what really happened over the past few years, and this has pushed prices up and up. For that reason, now the local administrations, they have put a cap. It's not possible to build anymore in many towns. And my professional outlook is that they will go for whatever they can do to protect the area. They will go in the direction of South Tyrol. Also, South Tyrol now is completely off limits. You cannot develop for foreigners. You can only develop for locals, meaning that you need to have some special pre-qualifying criteria in order to purchase a property. And so the second market has become even more expensive. So the prices, because of the lack of properties, the value of the existing one free of any liens has exploded, so to speak. And Lake Garda, as I was saying, the Veneto part has been taken by assault in the past few years from these Tiroler investors and developers. And prices have gone through the roof. Some towns have gone from 4,000 euros to 10,000 euros per square meters. And then you have the Brescia part, which to me, just to wrap it up, is the most amazing because of historical heritage. It's also a very up and high and destination for tourists. Not only Germans nowadays, you got many people from Middle to Northern Europe that visit. Less Americans because they are in love with Lake Como, of course, but it's become more and more international, and the trend of prices and trend of real estate has grown exponentially with the interest of foreign nationalities.
Thank you so much for the overview. I must say, whenever I'm in this region, I always say, this was when God created the world. This was one of his best days. I almost always have almost tears in my eyes, just being the combination of food, people, architecture, and nature is just mind-blowing. And I myself don't know of any other place, to be honest, in the world, which is somehow comparable. It's just a wonderful, beautiful area with, the mountains in the back, clear water, food, the best pasta and pizza, the smell, the people, the culture. It's just amazing. And
thank you for that.
I'm not surprised that the Roman Empire couldn't conquer the northern part properly of the Alps, because if you come from this region, why would you be bothered to go up north?
It's very true. It's very true. I agree with you. So this is why they stop, most likely. Yeah.
No settlers found. Coming now a little bit towards the purchasing process. How can I imagine? You mentioned some constraints, which is obviously interesting and important to know. As maybe first and foremost, as a Italian person, how can I make sure that I understand the buying process? And then you can maybe also guide us through like some constraints, some obstacles, which maybe potential international investors or buyers need to know.
Yeah, you mentioned the Romans, and I always joke with our clients that our system is somewhat 2,000 years old with its flaws, and it's not perfect, but it got us where we are. And jokes apart, the system in Italy is pretty sound. And in our area, people should know that we have yet another system. We are possibly one of the only 3-4 areas in Italy which use the German Austrian system. So with the land registry, with the Grundbuch, where we really have a close to perfect system because it's a combination of the two. Everything starts with finding, in our opinion, of course, finding the right consultant, and a consultant that is properly registered. So not the average guy that can walk down the street. So it's properly registered, has all the insurances to operate, and perhaps like ourselves has a nice head office where we can meet the clients or we can meet them wherever. But the most important thing is the competence of the person that you have in front of you. Then when you have that, you are, I would say, 30% in the deal, meaning that you can really rely on somebody that is going to guide you. But just to wrap it up very synthetically, then the process works like this. Let's say that you are an Italian and you're interested in purchasing a house. For the sake of simplicity, let's just say that you are fully financed, so you don't need to go to the bank. So what happens is that you scout the market, whether you attend one of our open houses or whether you see one of our listings, and you are interested in the property. Then what happens is that we draw a proposal, which becomes a preliminary binding agreement in case of acceptance from the counterpart, from the selling part. And in doing this, what we do is a pre-qualification of the asset. So we have already done that when we were given the assignment, but when the time comes to put interest of a client into a proposal, then we review the documentation that we have in the assignment, because it could be a month, it could have been 6 months that the assignment was given, or it could be 1 day that the assignment was given. So we redo all the checking in the public registry just to make sure that there are no further liens, no further restraint, that the property is really sellable. And then we double check also if there are any technical issues. I spoiler something for our clients. In Italy, prior to 2010, you could really have a lot of creativity in terms of how you would put down a floor plan, meaning that you could have a room that was used as storage and then have it written for fiscal reason, this is a bedroom or something like that. So there could be a lot of little things to put straight. No sweat, really. It's something that we do. We have a team of professionals that we can suggest and can get involved. We don't do it firsthand, we outsourced it, but the client can rest assured that if there is an issue, we will put it into the preliminary contract with the obligation from the counterpart to put it straight in time for the deed exchange, so for completion. When does the deed exchange or completion, as you want to call it, happens? It happens obviously when the property is fully fitted with all the documentation in order, with the energy certificate and so forth. And then we go to a notary. Or better said, we have involved the notary beforehand. The notary will have done his own checking on the property, so make sure that all the titles for the property to have been built or having been transformed were correctly issued. And as a public official, it will guarantee that the contract is drafted correctly. Obviously, it is done to us, it is done most importantly, especially to the selling party, to make sure that everything that is declared in the contract is corresponding to the reality of the facts. Very easy, very straightforward process. Then the notary performs the acts, everybody signs. Normally at the notary, people can get the checks and the seller will give the keys to the buyer. But there is also for some, especially, this is for Italians, for foreigners, many times we found very important deals. So with lawyers involved, family offices involved, sometimes the buyer can ask for the money to be transferred to the notary and be released only when the actual registration in the land registry will happen. In South Tyrol, it takes 7 days, 10 days. In Trentino, it takes up to, let's say, a month, and then it's released. But it's very unlikely, it's very uncommon. I would say 99% of the transactions, if not 100% of the transactions, happens with money given and keys retrieved or possession given at the notary, not after or before. So I hope I was clear, but please let me know if something wasn't and I can articulate further.
Yes, follow-up question regarding the pre-contract, the promissory sales contract.
The preliminary, yeah.
Yes. What happens if I decide not to buy? Is it in Latin America especially, you have then a penalty on either side when someone decides not to go for the contract anymore? Is that also sometimes the fact there? And also maybe here, knowing it from Portugal about the importance of what to write in the pre-contract, is that also a fundamental element in Italy?
Yes, it is. We are a state of law, all the nations that you have taken as example. It certainly is. This is why being with truly a realtor that knows its way around is very important. But apart from that, every preliminary contract, thank you for this question, because you see, we give it for granted, but it's not. Every preliminary agreement must include an earnest payment, meaning it's not a deposit. It's really a payment that guarantees both parties in case of one of them decides not to go through with the transaction. And it is also, ironically, the main element of why real estate agents are paid after the preliminary agreement and not at the deed completion, because our job is technically performed when an agreement is really in place between two people with an exchange of money. And the exchange of money in this case is the earnest payment, which, by the way, is in our case is, or traditionally speaking, is never less than 10% of the whole amount. But we like it to be a little bulkier. We like it to be 15, even 20% in some cases. Why? for the reason of avoiding that one of the parts gets up in the morning and says, you know what, I thought about it. I don't feel so sure anymore. So if you have paid, let's say 1% of the price, then it's easier to say, okay, tough luck. I walk away, I lose 1%. It's not really something. But to walk away when you have put down 10, 15, or 20% of the amount, then it's something else entirely. And we don't do it because we want to enforce it or coercively push somebody into a contract. The contract is only signed when the parties are ready. So they will have had all the time in the world, whether it is 1 day or 1 week or 1 month, to think about it. And they will have been guided through the contract in each and every clause. We read it together. We have a massive screen in every office in our company where you can read it together with the client. And if there is anything, it can be arranged with the same spirit we submit it to the seller. So we read it through once, twice, whatever is needed. Okay, if there is anything to adjust, we adjust it. But the earnest payment guarantees both parties. How? According to Article 1385 of the Civil Code, it guarantees both parties because the earnest payment is paid by the buyer, by the promissory buyer. What happens if the promissory buyer decides to walk away? Then the earnest payment is lost. Okay? Whereas if the selling party decides to walk away for whatever reason, then double the amount needs to be given back to the buyer. And you would say, but how can I guarantee to get the buyer a double amount? If the seller doesn't sell, then, it's not a straightforward process, but if there is litigation, he still has the real estate, which can be impounded and coercively forced to pay the deposit. Now, what I'm telling you, Michael, is pure theory. We never, ever had a situation where we got to this moment. Why? Because common sense. Sometimes it has happened that people would come to us and really with the honest reason, look, I can't go through. What can we do? Can you help me? Can you speak with the seller? And then with the seller, we can say, look, can you please wait a little bit longer? We want to find another buyer to come into. So our job is really to avoid. We are not lawyers. We are people who try to facilitate. We don't want to complicate. I'm not saying that lawyers complicate. Actually, many of my friends, lawyers, are very proactive in solving things. But I say we are not here to create tension and litigation. We are here to create a way forward and a way through. Our motto is Latin, is ad maiora, which means towards better things. And this is what we like to dedicate our time to.
Regarding the taxes and the costs, how much can I expect there? And are there differences between first-time buyers and maybe second-home buyers?
Yes, there are differences. We are Italians, so we like to complicate things a little bit further. So there isn't really a straightforward answer. Why? Because to put it very easily, let's say you've got a property that it's worth 100 euros. Between private individuals, you don't pay taxes on the nominal value, you pay taxes on the fiscal value. And the fiscal value is different for any property. So there are some coefficients. Normally, the fiscal value is far less than the nominal value. Hence, the taxes are pretty low. I say that Italy is one of the countries with the lower amount of real estate taxes in the world. And why is this? Because Italy is also one of the highest patrimonialized countries in the Western world, for the simple reason that almost anyone owns a house. For instance, I was reading about Germany, where many people decide to rent rather to purchase, and they got a very affluent lifestyle. But owning a house is not really a cultural thing as it is in Italy. In Italy is your grandfather, your father, you need to put a roof over your head, and the only way is to purchase. It's not to rent. Rent, you're throwing away money. Taxes are normally very mild, okay? And they need to be calculated in each different case, in each different time. And to just put it simple, they are 2%-ish, because there are some other stamps and duties to pay, but 2% for first-time buyers or to primary residences, and they are 9% for second homes, but calculated on this fiscal value, which can be very mild. Now, an entirely different thing is if you purchase a new property. I'm putting it very easily here, Michael, but if you purchase a brand new property, then you pay 4% VAT on the nominal value of the asset, or 10% as second homes. So 4% first time buyers, primary residence, 10% second homes on nominal value. These impact a lot, meaning that the new homes have a much higher price, both in terms of price per square meters and also in terms of taxes that you should pay to secure one of these properties. Again, in that scenario, what we like to do, but I'm not trying to sell our service, but what we try to do is to give as much and as many information to the client always in advance, so that they can really work out. Sometimes I have people and they're very nice, but I have young people, let's say we have a budget of X hundred. Okay, we've seen this house from the developer is a little bit over our price, but we would like to really consider it and make an offer. But then I say, look, have you considered also that there are commissions to be paid? There is VAT to be paid. Perhaps you have to add a parking space to it. And that's where you really give them a reality check, and perhaps you need to concentrate on something else. So it's a process, Michael. It's really a process.
Filippo, thank you so much for all your information. You gave us an amazing overview of your region, of the real estate market right now, of the dynamic factors right now on the market, what is driving the market. Very nice regarding the purchasing process. Thank you so much also for the taxes. We hardly touched upon your business, and I know you are running out of time. In a nutshell, and also some concluding remarks from your side. When and how can people, or when should people reach out to you, and how can they reach out to you? What is your contact information?
Michael, there isn't a straight answer to this. I always advise clients to reach out to a professional as early as they can. It is our job to invest time and resources to follow up on the input of the clients. Many clients, they started very early in the search to contact us, and some clients, they start very late. Some clients, they don't. There is certainly a trust issue worldwide with realtors, which comes from decades of perhaps poor service. I say that the new generations and some companies are really trying to turn this around and show people. If you Google Zelo Real Estate in the browser, then you will find dozens of ratings that were given to us by people that have paid us a lot of money in commissions. And there is, I think, close to 80 or 90 ratings and only one single rating, which is non-perfect. But I can guarantee you, we didn't pay these people to put them there. It's a simple matter of defining your standards, Michael. We really like to put the process before the earning. We've always been lucky enough to believe really and firmly that a commission is the result of what you do, not what you say or what you think. It's really the result of what you do. We haven't invented anything. We just try with dedication and application to do whatever is needed to reach desired result. The bottom line is, guys, if you are looking for properties in Italy, specifically in this area, reach out to us or reach out to a different broker, but please make sure that you are followed throughout every step of the deal by somebody that knows what he's talking about and can perhaps help you achieve the result that you are really striving for. We'll be in Trento. Our office is based in the city, in an office block, and you can reach us via website, you can reach us via social, you can reach us via phone, via email, you name it, we'll be there responding to you and taking care of you, possibly.
Perfect. Amazing. I will also obviously put your contact information in the show notes. Filippo, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your insights. I'm sending the best regards to Trento, and I wish you a wonderful day.
Michael, we'll speak very soon for the second part of this thing, okay?
Perfect. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.
This video is brought to you by HalloCasa. Our tool transforms independent local real estate agents to global real estate agents. Create your own profile for free and get contacted by international investors. Sign up with the link in the description.